and welcome to another great edition of MP Astro. Now, as you can remember from my past videos, I have been reviewing this telescope for quite some time. Now, this telescope is from Rother Valley Optics, and this is the Horizon 72 ED refractor. Now, this refractor is a high quality doublet with a FPL 53 glass, which is a very high quality ED or extra dispersion telescope. Now, this telescope is fantastic for imaging a variety of objects in the night sky. It is dedicated more within the CCD or CMOS or in line with the DSLR cameras. So I've been reviewing this telescope for over a year now, and like always I have gone through, tested it as vigorously as I possibly can. I also like to thank some of my viewers who also have bought this telescope themselves, and they would like to wish to share their experiences as well with the telescope. The whole idea of this video is to show you guys and girls my final thoughts on this product. Now, a year sounds a lot of reviews that I've seen over the years, or some other channels review telescopes, and I often find them very biased in a way. Here, because this telescope is only a loan to me, I can get to test it out for a whole year and find out what are the true aspects, what are the advantages and disadvantages of this telescope. I'm not going to give out a biased review to trick you guys and girls, because this channel is not what it's all about. This channel is to tell you the truth on what I feel and like to share my experiences with this telescope. Like always, I know this telescope is loaned to me. I've not been sponsored by this company, and I like to share my honest reviews to show you guys and girls that what you're buying is real. Okay? Now, Rother Valley Optics have been in this business for quite a long time, and I have always purchased a lot of good items from that retailer. And like always, a good retailer will also listen to the customers. And my final thoughts on this telescope, I wish that Ian and Adam, please, you guys, please take this on board, because what I'm going to show you guys and girls is I will show you some of the things I like and some of the things I don't like, and that's why when I've been testing out for a good year or so, I have found quite a few niggles on this telescope. However, there are quite good things on this telescope. So the whole idea of this video is to share my experiences with this equipment. So if you guys and girls are considering purchasing this telescope yourself, you know what are the qualms about. Hopefully, Rother Valley Optics, please guys, take this on board, because this review will help you improve on this product and make it better, because there are a few things that should be improved. So please, if you're interested in this product, please hit the like button, and again, if you're new to the channel, please subscribe onto my channel. By subscribing, click on the bell, which will keep you notified for any new videos which I will push out very, very soon. And believe me, I've got loads of fantastic videos waiting for you guys and girls. So again, please share the video out. This will help to push out this product and give other people ideas if they're purchasing a telescope. So, if you want to find out more about my final thoughts on this telescope, please keep watching and let's do this. So, the first one I want to address is this. Now, I know it comes with a finder scope, which is really handy. The finder scope itself can actually be used as a guide scope and a finder scope. But sometimes if you're using the telescope for astro imaging, one thing I found out with this finder scope or guide scope, if you're going to use the guide scope method, you won't be able to point the telescope at a target. So even though there's a bracket here that's been supplied with the telescope, sometimes you have to buy a secondary red dot finder or a finder scope. And sometimes having that extra adaptation there, if you're using that guide scope for astro imaging, then you need something that will help you point your telescope to a target you want to wish to image. Sometimes I feel that Rother Valley Optics should supply with some kind of red dot finder as well. But what I will agree is, if they do include it in the package, it will up the price of this telescope. So I'm guessing, it's an extra thing to purchase. I mean, this is only a cheap finder scope or red dot finder. It is okay, it's not brilliant, but it will give me some idea where to point the telescope. Because if I use a guide scope, I cannot use anything else. So if once the guide scope and the guide camera is fitted onto this guide scope, then I need alternative methods of pointing the telescope in the general direction. So a red dot finder, which is a bit cheap, it's not the best, but it will point me in the right direction where I want to go. So what I find awesome about this 72ED is the actual guide scope system. Now, fantastic clamping, which fits on a dovetail, a Vixen dovetail, which is supplied with the telescope. The scope rings are absolutely rock steady. Really had no problems. Look, once I've aligned the telescope with the guide scope, once I aligned the guide scope with the main scope, I was like spot on accuracy. Now, the one issue, and there's many other people that I know, including one of my good friends, Mal, he's hinted out a certain problem with his telescope. Now, I have contacted Rother Valley Optics and they came out with this solution. Now, the main problem with this guide scope, and I'm sure that people have purchased it before, is the focus travel is not the best. Okay, and what I found out that this eyepiece, for example, can only achieve focus to a certain degree. Now, I contacted Rother Valley Optics and they've issued me basically a T2 extension tube, which is like a 10, I think 10, maybe 20 millimeter, I'm not quite sure, but I think that's a 10 mil extension tube. And what was happening is, to achieve focus with this eyepiece, you had to literally get it barely clamping, right? And the problem is, it was like, if you could take a closer look, you can see I'm like at the edge to achieve focus. So this is fully extended out as well, so it's like it's all the way out, and to achieve focus, this eyepiece has to be literally hanging off, and you can see how much flexure is there, free play, and it's not brilliant. So Adam sorted me out with this extension tube, which is a 10 mil extension tube. Now, don't get me wrong, it does work, and it does screw on there like so, and it basically extends the tube out. You can fit it nice and flush now along into the eyepiece like so. So it's done the job, and it's not bad now. It's not bad. And if you've got the older type zoom cameras like this one, this is the 120, you need that spacer to achieve focus. So it does screw in the old type zoom, okay, with the T2 thread, okay, so it screws in there and you can achieve focus. Again, it fits nice with this camera setup, much better. However, if you had the ZYGO 120 Mini, again, this is not really important, but to achieve focus with the Mini, again, you can see as you back and forth the sensor, you have to achieve focus, and again, you're literally off the end of that guide scope. So it's not the best, and we've had a few viewers that saying that they're not happy with this guide scope because there's not enough extension on the system. So I looked into it, and there is an adapter you can buy which is a T2 to 1.25" adapter. Now this, if I take this camera off, if you screw it on here, this will provide some extension. This will screw onto the T2 thread, like so. It has a T2 thread here to put on your older cameras. So now it screws in nice and flush, and you can back and forth the extension as well. Also with this adapter, because it's got a brass ring fitment inside with 3 screws, you can fit your ZYGO Mini much more secure. And this fits perfectly. So once I lock it in place, now you see you zoom in, a lot more secure. So a T2, basically a T2 to 1.25" eyepiece holder extension with the 3 screws would be better. This will greatly enhance and improve on the existing Guidescope. Okay, so the Guidescope is good, but the one key aspect, I feel that Rother Valley Optics, please guys, look into something like this, because this is going to improve the whole design. And I'm not saying that this is not adequate, it does the job, but I feel to a lot of customer concerns, there are people out there that feel that this can be improved. And just by that extension from that T2 adapter, the 1.25", will dramatically improve on this Guidescope. Now don't get me wrong guys and girls, this is a very good Guidescope. Alright, and I've been guiding extremely well with this setup. So the only bad thing is that key component there. Yeah, I think it's okay, this is alright, but this is better. And this is basically a 20mm extension as well, which means that once you fit your eyepiece in there, it fits a lot better. This component now will enable you to, guys and girls, to achieve focus with the standard supply eyepiece. So the next item is this. Now I've had a lot of viewers spoke to me how they loved the case. The case, don't get me wrong, fantastic quality. People love the logo, and they love how the inserts helped put all the telescope 72 ED in there nicely. However, I have actually had a few people suggested that they want a setup where they want the whole telescope So the 72 with its guide scope may be enough space to fit the whole assembly like so in the case, so that they can fit it inside with probably a DSLR camera, or the actual flattener can fit in there all together, which is a really good point actually, because there is a fair few people are saying this, because if you have the telescope in a wanna, this can make it very easy for a lot of users. Alright, so if they designed this telescope so that you could fit the whole case, so you can fit the whole telescope with the guide scopes, with the guide cameras and the imaging camera, or probably enough space for a DSLR, probably would be better for the case to be slightly bigger. And don't get me wrong, Rother Valley Optics have done, they do actually have that option, but you must contact Rother Valley Optics. They do a case which is a lot bigger, and it has plug foam, so you can plug foam the inserts and you can then fit your telescope in a wanna like so. Obviously there'll be a caveat, obviously you'll probably have to pay extra for the case, but don't quote me on that. You need to contact Rother Valley Optics if you want that type of case, and usually they'll probably work out, they'll probably supply the case with it, but you won't get this nice case. Personally, I feel that if Rother Valley Optics made a case like this, a little bit bigger, for you guys to then, guys and girls, to have the telescope in a wanna would be better. And it is a very good value point, and I totally agree. So personally, I've not had much problems storing the telescope in this case, but most of my setups are usually when I do this setup in my observatory or my back garden, so I don't really use this case in particular. But I can understand a lot of the guys and girls that all travel quite a lot and they need to go to remote dark skies. I can understand why they want this case, so that the phone inserts and the case being a little bit bigger, so that you can fit this telescope in one piece. Now, there's one item I do like, and I feel that this is a fantastic piece of equipment. Now, so when you buy the whole setup from Rother Valley Optics, you get this component. Now, this is the 72 field flattener. Now, I love this field flattener, alright? I've been using it extensively, and I love this rotator ring where this adapter can fit on there. I mean, it's got the spacer so you can get it to perfect focus with any DSLR, Nikon, Canon cameras, and I just love this rotator ring. All right, very sturdy. You can adjust the tension as well with these screws here, and it's got the lockdown screw. All right, I love this setup. Now, there's one thing I would like to suggest to Rother Valley Optics is I do like the field flattener, but I could really suggest to you guys and girls, I wish they designed a 0.8 times focal reducer and field flattener with the rotating adapter on there. If they fit that kind of field flattener with that focal reducing, you're going to have very fast, round about f4.1, I believe, on the Horizon 72. And I'm not just discouraging that this field flattener is not good enough. It's not adequate. It is fantastic. All right, you need the field flattener, and this field flattener is absolutely amazing. and it will correct all the stars in that field of view. Right, I've not had any dramas with this field flattener. It's a fantastic optical device, but I really would like Rother Valley Optics just to look at putting in a 0.8 times focal reducer, because there's a lot of great imaging scopes that could really benefit this. And I believe that the Horizon 72 ED, I know it's been in for about a good year and a bit, but a focal reducer would be absolutely amazing with this setup. So what that will do is it will speed up the optics, it will increase your field of view, and it will basically speed up the exposure times of any deep sky object. And I really feel that this, if they had that focal reducer with this adaptation, will really benefit that telescope massively. So what I like about this refractor is the focuser is absolutely amazing. Now I've got a modified Canon 600D DSLR with a cooling mod. Now the overall weight of this camera setup, because you have modified it with a cooling mod, the camera itself weighs just about 1.8 kilograms, which is almost 2 kilograms of weight. And as you can see, even when I slacken the lock screw at the bottom here, this is all the way out, look at that, it's so rigid all the way through. And even the 10:1 focuser, okay, it's smooth all the way through. Now this is connected with the Rother Valley Optics 72 ED field flattener, and even with the field flattener, that's got a bit of weight to it as well. But as you can see, there's no slippage. We'll take a closer look, so taking a closer look, you can see it is smooth all the way through. Okay, even with the 10:1, the focuser is such a joy to use. It really is so rigid, and with the camera setup with a lot of weight in there, it really is very impressive, high quality stuff. And I do like how well made and manufactured this focus is. You know, it's nailed as well, so you've got plenty of grip with your fingers as well, especially if you're trying to operate the focuser during the cold winter months. Alright, you've got plenty of grip there, and again, it's already adjusted, correct tension and everything, but I'm actually really impressed with the quality of that focuser. Now again, some people have had problems that the draw tube is just not long enough, but I've not hit that barrier. But as you can see there, I've got a good 4-inch extension. Some people say they need a bit more, but I'm thinking they're using different types of eyepieces. But it achieves focus with the Canon 600D, not a problem. And usually around about there with the field flattener, I'm literally focused there, which is more than ample, I think. But if you're using different eyepieces, or you're using different setups, then you might need to use an extension tube to compensate. But that's the only drawback some people have. Don't get me wrong, you can use a diagonal, which if you use a mirror diagonal for your eyepieces, that will also eliminate the amount of travel that's needed to achieve focus. But again, this is a telescope which is designed for astrophotography, so purely for the DSLR range, because don't forget the DSLR range of cameras usually have a back focus already, and with the Canon 600D that's already 44mm, so back focus. So again, this telescope is really catered for the DSLR. Now the other problem what a lot of the viewers are having that's own this telescope is, don't get me wrong, the focuser is absolutely fantastic. It's a fantastic focuser. Now there's a few people that who would like to change the camera to an eyepiece or to a dedicated astro camera. Sometimes they've got the existing DSLR camera and they wish to swap and change between the imaging sessions. What they found is it can be a bit frustrating how they have to use tools to extract this system out to change over for the field flattener and then into the box standard 2-inch format eyepiece holder. So the quick way and easy way, what I found, is you don't actually need to use tools to remove this existing setup. So the easiest way to do this is if you grab this part here, this line here, you do not need to use any tools to slacken off this part to remove the blue 2-inch format eyepiece holder. You grab your hand by here, grasp this part here and just turn it. Turn it out until the whole setup comes out in a oneer. The whole thing comes out like so. You then grab your rotator ring, which has the field flattener already fitted with the spacer for the DSLR camera. This can just simply screw in like so. So it screws in like so. You can then begin to attach your T-ring and your camera. As you can see here, a lot of people think using the tools to change the system, but here you can still rotate it, you can still adapt it. So that is the quicker way to adapt the whole system. So in theory, you don't really need tools for this focuser. Now there's a fair few people who got stuck referring to the instructions, sort of mislead them in a way, but it doesn't have to be the case. Now one thing I do need to highlight is that Rother Valley Optics supplied with the field flattener and you get this spacer. Now don't get me wrong, I found it a bit confusing because the back focus, if you measure the camera to the T-ring, I'm already at the 55mm ideal air gap for the horizon. Now what usually happens is that this is also supplied with the field flattener. So if we take the camera off, you see you already got the T-ring, which adds 11mm that I'm using. Again, the T-ring I have to use is an M48 thread, okay, for this field flattener to fit on there. So I found it a bit confusing why there was an extra spacer there. What's weird though is if I put the additional spacer, okay, and I screw on the T-ring, okay, that is more than the ideal 54mm. I don't know if I'm correct me if I'm wrong, but if I worked it out, yeah, this is more than ideal than the 55 that was quoted in the advertisement. So Rother Valley Optics, I don't know what's mentioned in your advertisement, but you said that the field flattener is supposed to measure 55mm of air gap. With that extension piece there, that's already over 55mm, which I find a bit confusing. But the good thing I like about this field flattener is this lovely lockdown screw. So you slacken off the screw here and you can actually orientate the camera all the way around. Okay, ideally use the nil part here, and the whole idea of orientating the camera is if you're imaging any deep sky objects in the night sky, there are certain deep sky objects which are really suited if you angle the camera sensor to a certain angle, particularly if you want it sort of in like a vertical angle, where some of the deep skies, like for example Andromeda Galaxy, that's quite a long, huge galaxy, and sometimes to maximize the amount of exposure and try and get that object in the sensor, usually you have to have it vertically at an angle to get the whole of the spiral arms as much as possible. So this fantastic feature, which I think Rother Valley Optics has made for this field flattener, really is quite remarkable, and I've had no slippage. It has not slipped on me once, providing this screw is tight. I've had no problems whatsoever. Alright, really good design, and I wish that Rother Valley Optics start looking into a similar setup for a 0.8 times focal reducer and field flattener. The one aspect I do need to highlight is I have used the telescope without a focal reducer, and believe me, if you use the blue eyepiece holder, what I found that if you're imaging with a camera or any CCD or CMOS Astro dedicated cameras, you'll find that this telescope will not correct all the stars in the field of view. So really, if you're taking a lot of photos, then get to the habit of just using that field flattener constantly, because that will correct all the stars all the way to the edge. So it's really important that if you bought the telescope without the field flattener, I think you should really consider buying the whole package together, because if you buy the whole package together, you'll get the Guidescope and you get the field flattener. And don't forget, you don't get many telescopes out there where you can buy the whole setup in a full package. Guarantee you the field flattener is like £200, the Guidescope is another £200. You know, all this mounts up. So really, if you're considering buying this telescope, then buy the field flattener, because the field flattener is very good. So another thing I need to highlight with this, if you're using the field flattener, because of the M48 thread, it's great for DSLR cameras, but again, if you're going to use it for a dedicated Astro camera, like a CCD or CMOS camera, the M48 thread might not well adapt to the field flattener, and I'll show you why. If we take the T-ring, if we take the whole camera off, so because this telescope is purely designed for DSLR photography, the field flattener, I do like the M48 thread. Right, you get a big wide field of view as well, so you can use a full frame camera as well with the field flattener, which is really good if you're using the bigger, more expensive cameras. But if you've got like an Astro camera that I have, this Astro camera I've got can't fit in there. I have to literally purchase a T2 to M48 thread, okay, for this camera, for me set up to fit. So even with you take the spacer out, okay, I can't understand why the spacer is thrown in, because if I'm working out the 55mm gap, if I'm using the DSLR camera, that's over that. I don't understand that, but somehow I'm getting the stars corrected across the field. So I'm a bit puzzled. So please, Rother Valley Optics, please answer why you've got a spacer in conjunction, and then it's featured in your advertisement that it works at 55mm gap. So a bit confused what's going on there. However, another thing that they could throw in, but again, I'm guessing they're trying to keep costs down, because don't forget, all these extra stuff do cost a bit of money, and it will up the price of the telescope. So I've got an M48 T2 thread. Now, if you've got like a small chip camera, I mean, I've got I've got a small QHY 183M mono camera. All right, very small pixel size camera, which is fantastic setup for this M72. Okay, because I really want to home in on the galaxies and smaller deep sky objects, and this CMOS camera can really pick out some of the detail for that. Again, providing you got the correct air gap. Okay, I find that this setup with the filter wheel, I have to use this adapter, because it's the only way I can get this camera to fit onto this setup. And again, you've got to work out the air gap between the camera sensor here to the field flattener, but it does screw on very nicely all the way across. So as you can see there, usually I have the filter wheel tilted that way so it sticks out. So when the camera, so when the telescope is slewing to the utmost, this part here is at the upright position. So the filter wheel does not hit the tripod base. But as you can see here, you need that adapter for that to fit onto that field flattener. Again, if you notice in some, you'll notice I have used without. Again, I don't know what it is with this telescope. If you use the eyepiece holder, again, it doesn't correct all the stars in the field of view. And this, even with this using a smaller sensor, if you use it without the field flattener, it does not correct all the stars at the edge of the field of view. So the field flattener is sort of very compulsory setup in order for this telescope to work. But as you can see, even with the more heavier setup, you know, I can tilt the rotatable field flattener, and I can orientate the camera at any angle I wish, which is really nice. I like that setup. So it's a really nice setup we've got here. And again, it locks in place, right? Very secure, doesn't go anywhere. And even with the lock screw's already loosened. It's holding the weight of that camera already. Okay, it's really, really good focuser, and I love that focuser. Nice operation, and that's what you need. So even with a heavier setup like I got here, with a filter wheel and all that, it really is such a joy to use. Really is. So that is an awesome little focuser there. Apart from the adaptation, would like to see a T2 to M48 adaptation to enable users so that they can fit it onto the field flattener, because the field flattener is definitely a must if you're using this telescope for astrophotography. It's not a bad, I'm not saying that the telescope is bad. What I'm trying to say is every refractor has to have a field flattener in order for it to correct the field of view. All right, doesn't matter what quality or whatever, you have to have a field flattener. If you use it for if you just use it for visual, you know, you stick an eyepiece in there and you want to observe the views, then you can use the 2-inch and 1.25-inch eyepiece holder. All right, and that is perfect. But for like astrophotography, the field flattener is definitely key. All right, it's quite important because like with most things, refractors where the lenses are designed in a certain way, at the edge of the field of view where the light is bent, because that's what a refractor does, it bends the light rather than reflects it. It bends the light and you get that curvature, all right, which is very noticeable through a long exposure image. So the field flattener is definitely a must that you fit it at all times with this telescope if you're taking a lot of photos. But I thought I'd share what I've got. The focus is really good. The field flattener is a fantastic thing. The only aspect is I would like to see another adapter so that it enables users to obviously connect the camera with also not just an M48 but a T2 thread as well. But I'm sure if you ask Rother Valley Optics before you purchase the telescope, maybe they'll throw in that adapter for you. So as you can see here, the 72 ED is a fantastic little setup for a lot of lightweight mounts. Now, when I say lightweight, is if you think about the 72 ED, you know, it's reasonably light, but don't forget when you add the Guidescope, the guide camera, and you got your main field flattener and main DSLR camera, you'll be pushing up to 5 kilograms, maybe 6 kilograms already. Now, I've got it mounted on EQ5 mount, but I've had a lot of people ask me, can this telescope be adapted for the smaller mounts, i.e. the Skywatcher, the Skywatcher Adventurer, or the smaller Ioptron Smart mounts? And the answer is, if we take a closer look, you'll see what I mean. So as you can see here, I've got my smaller Ioptron Smart EQ Pro, and don't get me wrong, fantastic mount. However, if I was going to mount the 72 on this scope, now bear in mind I've got 2 counterweights. I've extended it all the way down, and I'm going to mount it onto this telescope. I'm going to mount the 72 on there, and already, for starters, I have to slide it in because I can't lock it in. So already, if I lock it in place, and as you can see here, if I loosen the clutch, I mean, look at it, it's very wobbly. I put the counterweights down, maximum extension, and it's not very sturdy, not one bit. I mean, it could probably image, but this has got a weight capacity of 5 kilograms, this mount. And already you're literally, it's just a bit too much for this mount. And even when I'm, you know, it could probably work, but as you can see, it's not very sturdy. And this is what I mean. The mount is not the best, all right, to hold this kind of weight. So again, this is a lot of weight, all right. You combine it with the Guidescope, guide camera, and all the rest of the stuff. A 5 kilogram weight capacity mount is just not ample enough. So again, it's like you've got to either go for a minimum of a Skywatcher EQ32, but even better, I would say, to go slightly up is either go for the EQ35 or the EQ5 mount, which will be more than ample. Those mounts will be able to take this kind of weight, because don't forget, this is a high construction CNC optical tube. There is a lot of weight, but again, if you're considering mounting it to a Skywatcher Adventurer or the Adaptor small mount, it's not adequate. It might work, but I'm telling you now, you need to start upping up the gear. You need to start upping up the weight capacity of a mount, because this is a bit far too much weight for my liking for this mount. So as you can see there, with the EQ5 mount, it's a lot more sturdier, you know, a lot more sturdier, and that's what I mean. So if you ever consider buying this scope, I will consider mounting on a minimum, and I mean a minimum, of an EQ3 2 mount or an EQ3 5. Alright, those mounts will be better for this setup. But an EQ5 can handle the weight easily, because don't forget, the mount has a capacity of between 90 kilograms to almost 10 kilograms. So a mount like this is more than ample. Okay, so as you can see there, it's a lot more sturdier than the Adaptor mount you just seen there. So I thought I shared that. I thought I'd share that out as well, because I think that's important. Again, I've seen so many people that buy a really good telescope and then mount it on a mount that's just not capable of handling that kind of weight. And don't forget, if you get a telescope of this caliber and it's mounted poorly, it's going to affect your images. You're going to get star trailing, you're going to get frustrated, you'll be wondering what the hell is going on. Is it the telescope at fault? No. Like I said, for a lot of videos that I've mentioned many times, the mount is key. If you want really good astrophotography images, then I'm afraid the mount is number one to all aspects. Alright, that mount needs to be solid, on a solid base, polar aligned, and it will work out for you. It doesn't matter what quality or how well made it is, the mount should not be missed. So again, look into a minimum of an EQ 3.2 or 3.5, or even better, an EQ5 mount. And again, that would be a better option for me personally. And I've had better tracking with this setup. I have tried with Smart EQ Pro, it just doesn't cut it. It really doesn't. So please, if you're considering buying this telescope, get something of this this mount caliper. Get something of this kind of mount, alright? Something over the 5 kilogram mark is what you're looking at. So ideally, a mount over 7, maybe 10 kilograms payload is what you're really looking for. Now, the ED glass is absolutely amazing piece of kit. Alright, and I'll be showing this how it performs for some imaging sessions. Now, as you can see, the score rings are not bad, and I like the step ups. Right, the step ups can help you be able to get onto the locking mechanism at the bottom. The focuser is absolutely amazing. So the 10:1 focuser really is nice. Now again, one of the viewers pointed out they had difficulty getting access to this screw. Now this is the lockdown screw, and here you have to get really underneath. Now you can move this dovetail and you can slide it in and out, okay? So again, some people have difficulties reaching underneath, but if you unscrew these parts here, if you unscrew these bolts, you can slide the dovetail in and out. So as you can see here, you slide it in and out, and as you can see, you can gain access to the bolt. Okay, so you can slide the dovetail in and out like so. Again, the dovetail is adequate, it does the job, but again, one of the viewers say couldn't reach the access of the lock screw. Okay, so that is one way you can do it. Loosen them, slide the dovetail, and then voila, you can gain access to the bolt. Again, there's a few people wish that the focuser should be rotatable, which is another way to look at it. Some people don't like them, some people do, but again, some people would like to see if the actual focuser can be rotated. Now, just to back it up with the quality, this is a serial number 0009. Again, these telescopes are mated with the ZYGO testing certificate, and again, as you see here, that serial number will match this serial number here. Okay, so as you can see here, this is a proper ZYGO test. This is not any false claims, alright, or so. Alright, this is a genuine test, alright, and it matches the serial number of the telescope to the ZYGO test. Okay, this is a genuine certification of the actual performance of the optics. Alright, so one thing I do need to highlight is that now Rother Valley Optics are at the moment currently working on a new facility. Their testing facility will be a ZYGO testing facility, which means that once they got it all set up, they will be able to collimate and adjust optics on any telescope, particular refractors. Now, they're almost there, they're almost finished, and they'll be the only company available in the UK which they can be able to do a ZYGO testing. Now, the ZYGO testing facility, for you guys and girls who do not know what a ZYGO testing is basically they can measure the optics of any telescope, and they'll be able to do print-offs like this on any refractor or Newtonian, and they can measure the quality of how well machined and polished each instrument is, and they'll be able to collimate refractors. Alright, using that machine, they will be able to collimate it, get the very best performance out of your refractors. So the point to note out is that they're in the early stages, they've just got a few more things to do, but they'll be able to ZYGO test any telescope. So again, once they're ready, they'll be the ones. So if you've got a telescope that's not performing very well, those guys will be able to test your telescope, collimate it, and hopefully get your telescope running smoothly and get the very best performance out of it. Again, this telescope itself. Now, this telescope itself is a collimatable telescope as well. As you can see, if we take off the dew shield, if I unscrew the dew shield like so, you unscrew it, if you unscrew it like so, you can see the collimation screws on this telescope. Again, this is a very fine optical glass assembly, and these are adjusted very accurately to the main focuser. Alright, so I would not recommend anyone who wish to do a collimation on a refractor. If you're going to do this, please, if you get any problems with any of your optics, right, send it to Rother Valley Optics. They will have the ZYGO testing facility. They'll be able to collimate this telescope and get the very best out of it. Please, whatever you do, guys and girls, do not loosen or take off any of these screws, right? These are very finely adjusted. These are actually are adjusted with each separate elements of the glass, right? Please do not loosen any of those screws. If your telescope is having dramas like focus issues, you're not getting a very sharp image, Rother Valley Optics will be the guys to be able to sort this out for you, alright, without a doubt. So once they get the ZYGO testing, they'll be able to do this for you, get the telescope performing as it should. So again, this is a high quality instrument, and as you can see, very finely adjusted. Like always, just make sure, try not to touch when you screw on the dew shield, try not to tweak any of those screws, because if you do that, you will lose collimation of your refractor. So refractors are extremely good for keeping collimation as long as you don't drop it, okay? They should hold the collimation for quite some time. So like with this lens cell, you can actually clean the optics better. Alright, use a blow brush just to remove some of the dust particles. Or if you want to do a deep clean, you can occasionally clean it from time to time, but only do this as a need basis. So if the optics get badly pollinated, so you got pollen or any spot marks, or if the lens is really dirty, alright, then you have to clean it. Now believe it or not, I've had this for a year. I've not cleaned it at all. Alright, I've literally just use a blow brush, just blow the remaining dust particles. That is it. I have not cleaned this lens system for an entire year. So you only clean optics on a refractor when the optics are really dirty. So in other words, if you've got finger marks or you've got pollen that's sort of stained on the optics, then get yourself a border cleaning cloth and lens solution to clean the optics. Now I'm not going to go too deep on that, alright, because that is a subject on its own. Now as you say, very good system indeed. You are paying for quality on this telescope without a doubt. Now one thing I like to highlight, now there's one thing I need to highlight, and it's a good point from one of the viewers who pointed out that they had the dew shield. Okay, they've had problems with the dew shield. Now the dew shield is okay, it's nice and sturdy. However, one of the guys had problems with this. You see this? There's a lot of free play on that dew shield. Now to correct that, get yourself a 3mm Allen key, alright, and there's tiny screws at each end. You get these screws and you just nip them up. Right, you just tighten them up bit by bit, okay? You do the same on the other side, like so. It's just you just need to tighten these screws up. Alright, again you've got another screw here. Again, just nip them up. Don't over tighten them, just nip them up slightly. Okay, what you're doing now is you adjust these screws, and as you can see, the free play is gone, almost gone. So again, if you want to adjust it, you just tighten up these screws again, like so, and as you can see that the free play is gone. So these are like just normal screws, and what they do is they'll create some tension on there. Now bear in mind, just be careful not to over tighten these screws. So if it's a bit stiff, you need to back it off. So you back off these screws, and there you go. So that's how you eliminate this free play on the dew shield. So you see those tiny screws, all you do, get your 3mm, adjust these screws, and you can adjust the dew shield. You will get a bit of flexure, bit of movement on the dew shield, but again, it's not that bad, okay? And again, you can adjust the tightness and you can slide it in and out like so, okay? Don't get me wrong, the instructions are fantastic, but, and I totally agree with some of the viewers that's bought this telescope. Now I've already contacted Rother Valley Optics to supply a toolkit, which now they do. So now when you purchase your telescope from Rother Valley Optics, you should get the Allen key, the small Allen key, and a tiny screw as well. Now as you can see, it's been quite a while since I've done a video, but I'm getting busy, I'm getting better with my injuries. Alright, I'm not quite recovered yet, but what a great time to show you how this telescope performs. Now I will be testing out a few I'm going to test out a few targets with a series of videos on this product. So at the moment in time is we're going to start out testing out this telescope for imaging the Mars planet. So we're going to test out this telescope for imaging Mars, which is out tonight. At the moment, Mars is in a very good position on Earth, and it is a perfect opportunity to test out this capabilities for this telescope. Not usually normally used for planetary viewing or planetary imaging. This telescope usually is a wide field telescope, and it provides long exposure deep sky objects. Alright, so any large subjects like the Andromeda Galaxy or any nebula that's out there out in the night sky, this is the sort of telescope that I would use for that particular kind of imaging. But at the moment we've got it all set up in the MP Astro observatory shed. Alright, and it fits perfectly, nice, perfect, easy to set up. As you can see, it's on the NEQ6 mount. So Mars is in a good position. We're waiting for the clouds to clear, but hopefully come around about 8 o'clock. Alright, it'd be a good time to start observing and start imaging Mars. Mars is in its opposition phase at the moment, so it's getting closer to us on Earth. So come the 13th of October, that's when it gets really close, and that'll be a good time to start using even small aperture telescopes like this, a 60mm refractor, whatever telescope you have in hand. It'll be a good opportunity to start imaging or start observing Mars. And because it gets close to us, you'll get to see how you can see the vague detail, the darker regions, the mountainous valleys. You're might able to see a hint of the ice caps, you might, but it varies from time to time. And usually the best time to start imaging Mars is when it's very high up towards the meridian, which is in the south part of the sky, which is at the highest point. Because if you look at the highest point on that meridian, you're looking through the thinnest part of the Earth's atmosphere. Now the Earth's atmosphere literally wipes out a lot of detail on what you can see. Alright, so it's really important that if you want to maximize the best image quality or the best viewing you can possibly get, is wait till Mars is at the highest point in the southern part of the sky. Alright, that's when you'll have a very good chance in getting a very good view. I've mentioned it before in a very old video before about planetary tips and all that. As you can see with this setup, all I'm using is just for this telescope to work, to achieve focus, I need to achieve this telescope with this zoom. Now this zoom is using a 3x Barlow. This is a ZYGO ASI 120 camera. It's a coloured camera and it's connected to a 3x Barlow lens, a high quality Barlow lens. And to enable to achieve a bit more focus, I'm going to use a 35mm extension tube as well. That is my setup. This will get connected to my laptop in my observatory, and I'll be taking some outstanding images of Mars. I might even take pictures of the moon itself with this setup, but wish me luck. Hopefully we get some good clear skies, touch wood. Alright, and we should get some good results with this telescope. Look at this. This Rother Valley Optics Horizon telescope, that 72mm resolved a lot of detail on that moon, and I can clearly define all the details, the craters, the moon, the valleys, the seas, everything, and there's hardly any hint of false colouring in the images, which is a big plus of this telescope. Don't forget, this is an extra dispersion glass with very fine optics of FBL 53. I'm taking a shot around about ISO 200 and around about 1/800th of a second, and you can see some fantastic detail on that surface there. And that's a good thing about refractors. They are so good for planetary and lunar work. Because you've got no central obstruction, you're going to get a clearly razor sharp, well defined, very contrast image throughout. And as you see in that image there, really impressive detail there. We're getting a bit of a cloud cover, so the clouds are coming in. It's not perfect conditions as such, but I'm using a 3x Barlow lens to get this very close so you can see all the detail. I didn't use the Barlow lens, I would probably got a smaller disc, but I wanted to zoom in into the detail so that you can see the whole disc, the whole detail in there, and that is an impressive image of the moon, without a doubt. It's definitely worth the money seeing the optical quality on this moon. That extra dispersion glass, even though it's a doublet, there's refractors delivering some outstanding image quality there. I'm really happy with the results, really over the moon, literally. So good to see Rother Valley Optics are producing some really good high quality instruments, and this image is not to be sniffed at, without a doubt. Well, guys and girls, what do you reckon? Fantastic images. I am really impressed with this telescope. I like how it's a fixed unit altogether with a good solid focuser. The optics are absolutely amazing. Alright, stunning optical performance. Alright, and I am absolutely thrilled to bits on the image quality. As you can see with those deep sky objects that I've shown you, there is no false colouring, which is really impressive. I'm really struggling to try and find any form of false colouring in those images, and I've compared it with a lot of refractors, and there's always, with trouble with ED refractors, there's always a colour in the spectrum where the red or the green or the blue spectrum isn't quite focused. You always get a hint of false colouring on some ED refractors. However, after testing this out on a variety of objects, I have really struggled to try and find any hint of false colour, and it just amazes me how this refractor performs. Really is a very sturdy setup. I do like the step ups, the dovetail's adequate, the optics are amazing, the focuser is silky smooth, very rigid and strong. As you can see, those images, the planets, even for planetary work, looking at the moon and even Mars, with the opposition of Mars, I mean, to get some detail from this small aperture refractor is really impressive. To get those dark regions on Mars, it's a real shame I didn't get the polar caps, the polar ice caps, which is a real shame. But looking through Mars, the quality for this scope is stunning. Just because it's a small aperture refractor, I could pick out detail on Mars. And that is saying something, because Mars is a very difficult planet to capture detail, believe me. But it just shows you one thing, that the optics are absolutely amazing. Now the only bugbear is really, despite a few of the alterations with the interchanging problems with the focuser, with the adaptation using the field flattener, the floppy dew hood that sometimes puts people off. But to be honest with you, my real concern really on this scope, which I feel that should be improved, please, Rother Valley Optics, please look at putting that better T2 to 1.25" extension tube with the 3 thumb screws. Alright, this will make the Guidescope much better. There's not enough focus travel for that Guidescope to focus, and even with this extension tube that you supplied is okay, but to be honest with you, I wish it could be better. Everything else on this telescope, there are some nice touches. Some people don't like the colour coding. I personally do like the colour coding. It really does suit Rother Valley Optics to a T. Alright, I like the ZYGO testing certificate. I like how it's serialised. I like how there's a collimatable cell, which the lenses can be adjusted. If collimation does come out, which I tend to, as long as you don't drop the optics, the collimation should hold for a very long time. But if they do, Rother Valley Optics are building a ZYGO testing facility. Once it's up and running, there is options there to help you guys and girls if your optics of your telescope on your horizon is not fully workable. They'd be able to fix the problem for you and get it collimated. Apart from that, despite the glitch from the Guidescope, which is a real bugbear, alright, with that extension tube, I wish it could be better. Everything else on this telescope is fantastic, absolutely amazing. I've tested it out for a year. I have really struggled to try and find any hint of false colour, and I've tested it on a variety of objects, and I am really impressed with its performance. Alright, you pay for quality for a telescope like this, and I am confident after testing it for the whole year, I am really satisfied with this telescope without a doubt, and I would highly recommend anyone who is looking to this telescope to purchase this. And I'm not just saying this as a sponsor. I am not sponsored by any means, alright, but I just loaned this telescope to test out and give you guys and girls the true facts, and with the evidence backed it up. I have highlighted the flaws. Some of the flaws can be sorted out quite easily. Please use this video to sort out the dew shield, to sort out the quick adaptation. There are a few tweaks, and even on the focuser you can slide the fix and dovetail up and down so you can gain access to the focus thing. There are tweaks that needs to be done. However, some people like the rotatable focuser, could be an improvement. However, personally I like a rigid focuser unit. I prefer to either rotate the tube itself if I want to, but some people like that rotatable focuser. Other than that, I will reward this 4.5 stars. If they sorted out this problem with the Guidescope, this would be a 5 stars. And I'm not just saying this, right? There's a few glitches, but the glitches could be better. So please, Rother Valley Optics, start looking at improving the extension tube here. With that extension tube that I had, that will greatly improve the Guidescope massively. Also, I would like to see an extension tube. Despite the limited travel on the telescope, some people really struggled, but an extension tube might actually help. So maybe I'm quite happy to pay that little bit extra for the focuser to have a bigger extension tube on there to achieve focus. But bear in mind, guys and girls, this is a telescope designed for astrophotography. So the focuser will be shorter. It's just that certain makes design certain focusers with bigger draw tubes and all that. But the one key aspect that I need to highlight to you guys and girls, you can never find the perfect telescope. And believe me, you can research everywhere. I've seen a lot of telescopes, particularly the Raptor model for example. Everyone says that is the perfect telescope. But again, you pay premium prices which are 3 times as much as the cost of this one, and I'm not just gloating this, but even that has some glitches. Every telescope is never a perfect telescope, and it doesn't matter how much money you pump into this hobby, into a setup, there's always going to be something you need to do to improve on any given telescope. I've been in this hobby for a very long time. All the telescopes that I have and I've played about with, I've tested out, are never going to be perfect. If they're going to be perfect, you'll be expected to pay a very high premium price. But to what I've seen with this telescope, this comes very close to a lot of the high-end, and I mean the really high-end telescopes, and this will match even the high-end telescopes because the optics are absolutely amazing. Looking at the moon, at the deep sky objects, even Mars, proves that how capable this telescope can be. And without a doubt, I will have no question to buy this telescope. And would I recommend it to anyone? Without a doubt. Please, guys and girls, if you're serious about taking real decent images through a high performance doublet refractor like this, right, this extra dispersion refractor will deliver the goods for you. Alright, and I'm absolutely thrilled with the performance of this telescope. I'll be honest with you guys and girls, I have a triplet 150mm Apple refractor. That is an amazing telescope, but it's also an amazing price as well. But comparing the results from this telescope to that, this is literally on par with my triplet, and I'm not overestimating this. This is without a doubt such an amazing telescope for an ED doubler. That ED glass is absolutely amazing, and it just shows you that you pay for premium optics, and that FPL 53 has done an amazing job. And as you see with those images, that is proof to you guys and girls that you have confidence knowing that if you're going to want to consider buying this telescope, Rother Valley Optics can deliver fantastic telescopes of this sheer quality without a doubt. So please, if you like watching this video, please hit the like button, and again, if you're new to this channel, please subscribe to my channel, and please share this video out, because again, there'll be a fair few people may be very interested in buying this telescope. So again, please share the video out. Again, if someone's considered purchasing this telescope, sharing that video out might help them make that decision, and believe me, it's not a mistake. It's a really good investment, and what a telescope it is to see that sheer quality. And again, please hit the bell, because I'll keep you notified for any new videos coming out soon, and believe me, I have loads. And I do actually have a new product review as well coming very, very soon. So again, like always, I'll be testing out that product very extensively, maybe a good year, to start getting a feel for the telescope. Because like always, with a lot of my product reviews, I like to test products for a year, because that's how you learn how capable the true reflection of that telescope. Okay, if you're testing equipment out for such a long periods of time, you get to know and get to see all the flaws, all the design problems. What can you do to improve on it? And that's what makes this channel unique, is that I am true to the word to you guys and girls. I do not give you any false information. Alright, I'm not biased in any other means. And again, I'm not sponsored by any other company. A lot of the equipment that I purchase, or is what I bought, and which I have the freedom to express my views. And again, I don't mean it in a bad way to a lot of manufacturers. I just want to help manufacturers produce the very best equipment so that you guys and girls can benefit and enjoy astronomy how we want to enjoy astronomy. To see decent views, to photograph amazing images like these. And that's why quality, if manufacturers listen to the astronomers, will help to improve on their products so that you get the very best views. And that's what this channel is all about. So again, thanks for watching. Look forward to the next video, and I wish you all to stay safe and clear skies.